Hi everyone, this is Haley with Tumble Time Customs, and today I'll be reviewing the LaFancy Premium Heat Transfer Vinyl. First, I'm going to be testing how it cuts on our Graphtec cutter. Secondly, I'll be obviously heat pressing it to our substrate. And third, I'll be testing its durability by running it through a washing machine. So I'm going to get my first impression of the color here. Oh wow, this is a really gorgeous silver reflective color. The picture looked a little bit darker, but this is actually really nice. And it has all the instructions on the outside for us to follow. It's telling me to set our heat press to 305, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So let's get this thing ready to go. So behind me is our Graphtec cutter. We have a pretty large format cutter here at the shop. We're gonna put this in our cutter, shiny side down, so that it can cut correctly and we can get it ready for our imprint. And you can see I'm keeping my hand on it every so often to make sure it doesn't roll in there. It did come in a pretty tight roll, but I'm not having as much trouble with it as I do with some other vinyls that I try to cut out, so that's good. Okay, so it's all done cutting. From what I can see, it looks pretty good so far. Let's move on to weeding it. All right, I've got my regular vinyl that I usually use, and I've got the LaFancy here, so let's see how this weeds compared to this. I've got my sticky mat here, so I can put this on there, hopefully have a little bit of an easier time. So this is a pretty complex pattern that I'm going to be attempting to weed out here, so let's try it. Let's see how it feels. It is tearing a little bit. If I start from the letters, which is what I would normally do, the pick is just pulling it and ripping it, and it doesn't look like it's catching those little cutout pieces that I don't want to move. It's pretty easy weeding. I did cut out a lot of these little tiny pieces that I don't want it to be pulling up, and it's doing a pretty good job of not tearing those out, which I have had problems with other vinyls doing in the past. That big outside part wasn't too bad. So I'm going to start picking out these little parts now. Like I said, it's kind of wanting to tear through them. So like there's a little piece here that I didn't get because it ripped while I was trying to pick it out. Not horrible. Let's see how it goes on our heat press, because the cutting overall is very good. With detailed patterns like this before, I've had problems where it gets ripped up in the cutter instead of doing what it's supposed to. This is pretty impressive. I'm gonna try with the tweezers maybe. Maybe this tool is just not it. Okay, so that weeded out pretty easily. It might be hard to see because of the reflection, but we got all of our pretty complex things cut out there. So this definitely was a more pleasant weeding experience in this, just because it didn't want to peel up as much. Let's go see how they press. So we've got our pillowcase. Get on this side too. I'd say that looks pretty good. So that's gonna just weed right off beautifully. So that went on perfect. So let's try putting on our LaFancy right next to it. And put this protective covering over the vinyl that's still going to be sticking up over here. We don't want to have any melting vinyl problems. And here we go. You get strong arms from using one of these suckers. Let's see if it peels off. Oh my goodness, this is so reflective. Okay, we're having a little piece that's having some trouble wanting to come off of our contact sheet here, just for about 10 more seconds, as the instructions said.
So now let's try. And there, that's coming right off. Even with our little tiny pieces in there. I always do an extra heat once I take the contact sheet off so that we can make sure it stays on there. We've got our finished pillowcase, and that silvery reflective looks amazing. So as you can see, we've got our plain black here, which is really well bound to that substrate, and we've got the reflective here. I do see still this issue where it wanted to come up while I was pressing it right here, and then it did something similar where this E crosses over with the F. But overall, I'm really impressed with the reflective. It really is almost a mirror. So this is washed inside out, and it doesn't look like anything came up on it. We're gonna tumble dry low and see how it does. So this is after just 10 minutes on low. I'm having something peeling off, and I'm wondering if that's part of the contact sheet that stayed on there. It's a little bit odd. I'm just gonna peel it all the way off. So without that layer I just peeled off, it still has that kind of bicycle, if you shine a light on it, it's reflective quality, but it doesn't have that gorgeous silvery quality really. So this looks more like what I thought the image looked like on the Amazon listing. So maybe that layer is supposed to come off. So this is all the way dry now, and this bottom layer did not come off at all, and I think it's supposed to be safety reflective. So you can see when I get up on it, the reflective, and I'll put in a picture with the flash on as well. The cutting on this was pretty good. I don't see any problems with the cutting, even though we had a pretty complex design, so that's always great to see. It did apply to our substrate, which is a canvas pillowcase, but I did have to press it a couple extra times, even following the instructions. So remember that before you peel too quickly. Finally, the durability. So we ran this through a washing machine, and as you can see, it's holding up just fine, even going through the dryer. All in all, would I recommend this? Yes. I think it's a great crafter's vinyl. I think you'll get a lot of great use out of it, and it'll look great on your products. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and happy crafting!